Jack Dresser. I'm a retired psychologist, and I'm a national vice chair of the Veterans for Peace Working Group on Palestine and the Middle East. I began my professional career as an Army psychologist, or just out of graduate school during the Vietnam War. So I've been watching the American empire for a long time with increasing alarm. My closest friend in high school became a concert pianist, and he made his concert debut in Los Angeles playing the Prokofiev Seventh Sonata. So I have a deep familiarity and respect for Russian literature and Russian music, and all of which is very Western in character. Russia is a great Western nation and deserves to have an honored place in the European Union if it so chooses. And this artificial antagonism that the United States has taken toward Russia has always alarmed me enormously. I mean, Russia was our ally in World War II. Russia won World War II. It defeated, really, the Battle of Stalingrad, just wore Hitler out, and he had nothing left when we finally invaded at Normandy. And before that, Russia defeated Napoleon in the 19th century. I mean, Russia is a very resilient, and it's a country you want to have as an ally, not as an enemy. So I've certainly been watching this nonsense, which didn't just begin in 2014. It goes back to 1990 when we entered into, I say we, that would include the Bush administration at that time and the other Western leaders, entered into an agreement with President Gorbachev that if he consented to the reunification of Germany as a Western state, that we, the West, would move NATO no closer than the eastern border of Germany to Russia. Well, Clinton, of course, not immediately, but soon, violated that by bringing in 3 former Warsaw Pact countries in 1999. And then Bush brought a few more in, I think it was around 2003 or 4. And then in 2008, we invited both Georgia and Ukraine to join NATO. And here, both have borders with Russia, and Ukraine has a 1,200-mile border with Russia. So this is just completely dishonorable. It is a violation of a basic agreement between nations, and Russia has not violated any agreement with us. Russia, under Putin, has been really spectacular in its recovery from its collapse. Putin has done an amazing job of rolling back some of the nonsense that Yeltsin was giving away to the West, and protecting the Russian nation and the Russian people from manipulations and incursions of Western capitalism, making some compromises in the process. But he's an amazing guy. He's a very, very, I think, effective leader. I think Lavrov is probably the most distinguished diplomat in the world. And it's absolutely absurd. If we think we're going to defeat Russia or even outsmart Russia, I think we're very mistaken. And we forced this whole thing in the Ukraine by overthrowing the elected government of Ukraine in 2014. That was engineered completely by the United States, and and then they immediately began attacking. And this basically released the neo-Nazis there that had been cultivated and supported by the CIA ever since the end of World War II. So this released them, and they formed military formations that attacked the eastern provinces of Ukraine, the Russian-speaking eastern provinces, Donbass, Crimea, who had voted at the time that they wanted to rejoin Russia by over 90% pluralities and self-initiated referenda. And so we completely disregard that. We disregard the will of the people of the Donbass and of Crimea. And the result is that Putin was pretty much forced to invade the Ukraine to protect his own country. And that's his duty as its leader, and he's doing it. And he was doing it very reluctantly. He tried to negotiate for years. He tried to renegotiate the Minsk Accords, which we finally agreed were never agreed to in good faith. He's tried to negotiate a comprehensive security agreement for Europe, which has been completely ignored by both Zelensky and NATO. I hold the United States and NATO, the so-called collective West, and completely responsible for this war that was forced on President Putin. And he's actually gone in easy. I mean, he hasn't bombed Kiev into oblivion the way we bombed Iraq into oblivion immediately. We dropped a massive array of bombs at the beginning of the Iraq War, right on Baghdad, the main population center. Putin has been much kinder in his approach to this, and it would have been over long ago with thousands and thousands fewer casualties if the West hadn't decided to keep pumping weapons into Ukraine and keeping this whole thing going. Well, the result is going to be Russia's obviously going to win this war, and they're going to have to enter into negotiations soon. When Zelensky went to Paris, they gave him a nice, a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, they gave him a nice lunch, I guess, at the Élysée Palace, but they told him, hey, we don't have any tanks. We can't give you any more tanks. We can't give you any more heavy armor. And so that means you fold up your tent and you start talking to Putin. And it's going to be settled. It's going to be ended on Russia's terms. I think this thing is not going to last too much longer, and Russia's going to come out ahead, and probably is going to, as part of the negotiations, there's got to be an end of NATO in Ukraine, funding and arming Ukraine. The neo-Nazi formations are going to have to be either disarmed completely or brought under political control. So it's all going to end on Russia's terms, and we have brought that about by our arrogance and foolishness. Well, I think we should respect this development as a consequence of our own misbehavior, and accept a role in the world affairs, but by no means a controlling role.